Okay. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Monday special webinar series on TPO, Teachers Professional Olympiad. My name is Ruchika, and I am going to be the facilitator for today's webinar for you. And just to introduce myself, I work as an associate with CENTA for assessment creation for the psychology track. So before we move forward, again, like a very warm welcome to everybody, and so that we can all see where people are joining from, I would request everybody to just mention if you want the name of the school that you work with and also the location that you are attending this webinar from. So that will be like really exciting for all of us to know where the people interacting with us today are joining from. So while I wait for that, so just to introduce about this session, that this is a webinar series that we conduct every Monday, which is primarily focused on CENTA International Teaching Professionals Olympiad, popularly known as TPO. And today is the 16th session of this webinar series, which is on decoding CENTA International TPO for senior secondary psychology track. So, like the comments have started coming in. I can see that there are some people like Sapna ma'am joining from Ahmedabad. We have a lot of other people. Good evening, everyone. And Smriti ma'am joining from Bangalore. Then we have a lot of other people. I can see that there are so many places people have been joining from. So welcome everybody, no matter where you are. I hope that you find this session really helpful, and it is going to help you out in terms of understanding how TPO works, what is the format, and all of the various sorts of things that we are going to discuss in the next 1 hour. Waiting for a few more minutes so that I can have some more comments in terms of where people are joining from, in terms of their location. We have Bangalore, Ahmedabad. We have Shika ma'am joining from Sikkim as well. This is really great. Like, it's very interesting, like how we all of us have come together to understand from different places of India. And I'm hoping that there are a lot of people who might have joined from other parts of the world as well. We have people from Punjab, Meerut, Haryana, again Ahmedabad. So on this note, I welcome all of you again on this webinar. I hope this session is going to be helpful for all of you. And on this positive note, I think, yeah, great. Okay, so I think on this note, I can proudly say that I'm super excited in terms of providing you with the information that we are going to discuss in this session. Just give me a few seconds so that I can just put my screen up for sharing in terms of the other details for you. All right. All right. So let's get started. Like I said, we are in the 16th session of our webinar series for TPO, for CENTA TPO, and welcome to this track. Moving on as many of you might also know that the first edition of Teachers Professional Olympiad was conducted in 2015, and we are proud to be hosting the 8th edition of CENTA International TPO this year. And so indirectly, it's like 8th year of CENTA's existence. And the CENTA TPO was started because CENTA is fundamentally about creating reward, recognition, and career growth opportunities for teachers nationally and internationally. However, When you look at career growth, it happens, of course, over a longer period of time. So we wanted to introduce something that will lead to immediate reward and recognition for competent teachers. And the purpose of the CENTA TPO was to have an annual competition where teachers can compete in a large scale, having a large scale forum around this competition and showcase their competencies and get rewarded immediately for the same. So we have been really fortunate over the years to have distinguished partners like Reliance Foundation, Education World, and others who have really supported us during the journey and to also provide rewards and recognitions for the winning teachers. In terms of these rewards and recognitions, I'm going to be sharing with you the other details quite soon in the next few slides of this session. Moving on, just to give you an idea of what we are going to cover in this webinar session is firstly, overview of CENTA International TPO in terms of course, the format, marking scheme, and the different competencies that are covered. The highlight of this particular webinar is the senior secondary psychology track and to understand how it is using different sample questions. And lastly, we are also going to share how you can prepare for this particular Olympiad and how are the different things that I might give you some tips regarding how to prepare or some resources that might come in handy. So moving on, firstly, I'll share with you about how it was in 2015 and how we have progressed over the years in terms of conducting this Olympiad for teachers. So since 2015, there have been more than 20,000 candidates that have participated in Teaching Professionals Olympiad, which is a CENTA's flagship initiative, and the diversity of participants has been phenomenal. Like we also saw that there are different participants from the country attending this webinar itself. So there have been different participants from different locations who have participated in this Professionals Olympiad over the years. So again, so definitely we are now proud to say that before this we used to be online and at national level there were some things that were absent, but from this year we are completely online and fully international from this edition of TPO. Moving further, just to make you understand how it was in 2015, it was only the 9 subject tracks that we used to offer. And now if we cut to this year, now what we are offering for this edition of Teaching Professionals Olympiad is total of 39 subject tracks with some new tracks added, like for example primary school EVS, Hindi language tracks, there are co-curricular tracks, and there are various others, which of course all the details you can find on the website. Moving on, another glimpse of how we have progressed over the years. So back in 2015, continuing to 2020, we used to have only the multiple choice questions as the format of our test, as in the Teaching Professionals Olympiad. And it was a very great realization that in the Teacher Olympiad test, we realized that we need to test beyond just multiple choice questions, and that is why we introduced a video component as well to the TPO. So this is where it becomes important that 2021 onwards, there has been a combination of multiple choice question test along with the video component for these particular tracks that you can take the test in. So coming back to the brief of the entire TPO in terms of format and the other details is firstly, this year onwards, we are fully online. There are 2 stages that this TPO happens. First is the prelims, where the toppers of those prelims will be invited to the finals, which is finally called the Teaching Professionals Olympiad. It is this year, it's fully, TPO is fully international, and in terms of prelims, it's a 2-hour test for MCQ, which also covers 50 MCQ, which covers 50 MCQ questions plus 2 short videos. So again, this is the brief. Now going to the prelim format that we have. So there are 2 parts that we conduct the TPO prelims in. Like I said, multiple choice questions, which are a total of 50 questions and total of 75 marks. And the second component is verbal communication test, which has 2 questions and both of them comprise of 25 marks. So in total, we have the prelim test of total of 100 marks with 50 MCQ questions and 2 video questions. Now again, dividing the both of the components into further sections, we have multiple choice questions where one of the section has 20 questions on the subject expertise based on whatever subject that you will be attending for. In this case, it is psychology. So first 20 questions are going to be about the psychology subject and testing your expertise in the subject, which will comprise of a total of 30 marks. The second section for MCQ is a total of 8 questions, which will consist of the subject pedagogical content knowledge. And just to give a glimpse of what kind of question this is, like I said, we are going to be discussing some of the sample questions for this particular track. In terms of understanding the format, subject pedagogical content knowledge questions are 8 in total, along with they comprise of 10 marks out of the whole 75 marks. The third section is common pedagogy, which is not very much limited to the subject or the grade that you teach, but it could also be applicable to any other subject teacher or any other grade level teacher. So this is why we call it common pedagogy, which has total of 12 questions comprising of 20 marks out of these 75 marks. Moving on, the final section in the final component of MCQ is professional competency questions, which are a total of 10 questions comprising 15 marks in total. Now, the second component, which is the verbal communication test, like I said, has 2 different questions, where the first video component is subject specific verbal evaluation, which is of 15 marks, and the second one is subject agnostic verbal evaluation, which is of 10 marks. Now, what kind of questions are these is something we are going to discuss further in this session. Then another point of reference that I would want all of you to note is that the format of this TPO, this is for prelim, and for the TPO final, both of them are going to be different. And in terms of what it is going to be for the TPO finals, that will be shared with everybody in the month of April 2023 for the final format. This is the format for the prelim. I'm just reiterating that the final TPO final format will be shared with everyone in April 2023. Now, this is what the test framework looks like. Like I shared, there are 4 sections with certain number of questions comprising of certain number of marks for each section, and total of MCQ for 50 questions is 75 marks. Time allotted for this will be 1.5 hours for all of 50 questions. And the picture over here, like the picture down, is a screenshot of the platform on which that you will be taking your online test. So this is where, like on the left, you can see all the different sections that you will have questions from, and on the right you will have the question along with all the 4 options on which you will have to select which is your correct answer. And you will also have a countdown timer. So this particular section is just to give a glimpse that this is how the platform looks like, where you will be taking your online test for MCQ. Moving on to the verbal communication component, this is of 30 minutes of half an hour. Like I said, there are going to be two questions of five. The response time for both of them will be 5 minutes each, and the rest of the time is will be given to you in terms of preparing for each of them during this 30 minutes itself. So these 25 marks are divided in the way that you can see on your screen, and it happens on a Zoom platform. Again, the details, the very specific details in terms of how to attend, which Zoom link to join, all of these details will be given to you well on time while like after your MCQ test itself. And this happens on Zoom call, of course, online, and you can take it from your home or from your workplace or whatever place you are comfortable with, provided that you will have, of course, a stable internet connection and the other required details in terms of device and the other things. So the screenshot over here is also mentioned, like this is how the Zoom call looks like, where you will be allotted one particular evaluator for both of these questions, and your response will be recorded through Zoom, after which the evaluation will happen, and of course the details will be shared with you in terms of result later on. So moving on, discussing about the partners that we have for CENTA International TPO. So our partners so far are Reliance Foundation, which is the presenter of this initiative in association with Education World. Reliance Foundation and Education World are our primary partners, and we also have additional partners like University of Buckingham, University of California, Santa Cruz, Oxford University Press, Inspirit VR, Wisdom Circle, Firki, Bharati Foundation, and all the others that you can see on your screen right now. So these are some of the details in terms of the partners that we have in terms of conducting teachers professional Olympiad. Now, all the partners definitely bring in a lot of interesting prizes and rewards, and some of these prizes and rewards are listed on your screen right now. And I would say, just to give you a little bit of details, the Reliance Foundation Teacher Awards are given every year to the winners of CENTA TPO, which includes cash awards worth 20 lakhs. And I would also want to inform that this award is restricted to India-based participants itself. Otherwise, the other rewards which are mentioned and which are associated with this CENTA TPO are applicable to anybody participating from across the world, but only this Reliance Foundation Award is applicable to India-based participants. Then we also have premium training opportunities from Oxford, Buckingham, UCSC, and CENTA itself. Oxford, just giving you further details, like Oxford has training programs affiliated with Oxford University. Then University of Buckingham has projects where winners will get the opportunity to be mentored on a short research project by professors, along with a certificate of teaching excellence. Then UCSC is offering curated trainings and enrollment into their summer program in California. Inspirit is providing access to a one-of-a-kind software suite where 3D and VR toolkit for science toppers are available. So, as you can see, a bunch of different professional development and growth opportunities have been included in the prizes. So, coming to the education world as well, they will be providing media recognition for the winning teachers and schools with the maximum number of winners. So, we also have exclusive opportunities by Tata Institute of Social Sciences for toppers from B.Ed colleges, and also winners will receive digital badges, certificates, and a fully confidential scorecard. So by fully confidential scorecard, we mean that unless you have registered on behalf of your institution or from their side, your scorecard in that case will be shared with your institution. Otherwise, your scorecard is fully confidential and will be personally sent to you. It will be up to you to decide if you want to share it with anyone else or not. So these are the details in terms of how the results are shared. So, in a nutshell, I would say that this CENTA TPO is all about rewards, recognition, and to celebrate teaching as a profession. So, we are also very thankful that a large number of partners, be it corporate, government, legends like Brian Lara or Harvard professor Fernando Remis, have been supporting this initiative over the years. Also, for the teachers like many of you who have been participating year after year, we are very grateful for the support and we are grateful that we are able to bring this to the teaching profession. So, along with this, I think we now have an idea in terms of what the format for the TPO is, what are the requirements, and what are the benefits in terms of recognition or any other award. I think we can just move on to the sample questions for how the kind of questions for psychology track look like. But before that, of course, I don't want just to read out the question and just to tell the answer. It will be a very fun experience if everybody can log into menti.com and just enter this code that is mentioned on your screen, reading out the code for everyone. I would wait for just a minute or two, requesting everyone to go to menti.com and enter the code 322 04777. So when you enter this code, you will be taken to uh, participatory quiz kind of thing where you can also participate and interact along with getting an idea of how the questions look like. So waiting for just a few seconds so that everybody is comfortable going into the platform. Just enter the code that is there on your screen. So this code is something you can also see while I switch to Mentimeter as well, and I'll be displaying it again and again in case somebody joins in the middle or in case somebody loses network. Moving on to question number 1. So as you can see on your top right corner, the category of the kind of this question is about subject expertise and the topic is Ebanger's curve of forgetting. So reading out the question for all of you, according to Ebanger's curve of forgetting, which of these is true for the first 2 days following information acquisition? And the options given to you are option A, the amount forgotten increases with time. Option B, the amount retained increases with time. Option C, the amounts retained and forgotten are unrelated to time. And option D, the amount retained and forgotten remain equal with time. Just quickly going through the question once again, reading out for everyone. According to Ebanger's curve of forgetting, which of these is true for the first 2 days following information acquisition? Option A, the amount forgotten increases with time. The amount retained increases with time. Option C, the amounts retained and forgotten are unrelated to time. And option D, the amount retained and forgotten remain equal with time. So I'm just switching on to Mentimeter just to see how people are responding. So I can see that I only have 8 responses for now, where 3 of the people are responding for option B, 2 people are responding for option C, and 3 are responding for option D. In case you are still looking for the code to participate, it is mentioned right on the top of your screen, 322 04777. So waiting for a few seconds to everyone to join in and participate in this quiz. Okay, I can see that there is some now confusion between two and option A and option C. Option B has the highest responses. So another point that in case you are finding it a little bit tough to participate in this quiz, what you can do is like in another tab of your device, or you can just have the webinar, this live session running in the background, and you can open this in your Chrome. Okay. So let us quickly move on to what the answer is. We have 17 responses now. People are still responding, so maybe let's wait for another 10-15 seconds. Mentioning it again, in case you are finding it difficult to join this quiz, it is mentioned on the top of your screen, like go to menti.com and use this code in the given section to participate in this quiz. And it'll be, of course, much better if everybody can participate through menti.com, because we can now see in terms of number like what people are responding instead of looking in the comment box. So moving on, just to show the answer, we have the correct answer as option A, that the amount forgotten increases with time. Now, before moving forward, let's discuss in terms of why this option is correct. So option A is correct. Now, going with going with every option in terms of explanation, we know that this particular theory in terms of the forgetting curve, it describes the decrease in ability of the brain to retain memory over time. So we in terms of knowledge of this particular concept, we know that in related with time, it is mentioned that there is a decrease in ability of the brain to retain the information that is acquired, and that information decreases over time. So information acquisition decreases over time, which means of course that the amount forgotten is increased. That is why option A is correct. And option B, moving on, it will now, if we look at option number B, then it is exactly opposite to what the right answer is. So that way, what we learn from here is that in terms of language of the question, in terms of the words used in the options, they could also be in terms of the sentences or the vocabulary could be confusing. So this is what we have to be mindful of while answering the question. So that is why option B would be incorrect. Option C is incorrect because it says they are unrelated, but according to the this particular concept, we know that, like we said, the one of the variables of this forgetting curve is time. Therefore, they are definitely related to each other. And we are saying that they remain equal with time, but that is incorrect, since we are saying that, of course, the pattern is of downfall in the information being retained over the period of time. So, what one thing that we are gathering from this particular question is that, of course, we need to be very much mindful of what is the kind of word or what are the kind of sentences that are being mentioned in the question as well as the option. Moving on, just once again sharing with you that instead of participating in the comment section, I request everybody to go to menti.com, type this in your browser, Google Chrome, Safari, or Microsoft Edge, or whatever browser that you use. Mention menti.com over there. Once you will be there, you will have this on your right hand side, you will see something like this, and in that particular space please enter this code mentioned on your screen, 32204777, and once you enter that you will be taken to the quiz, and you can participate and you can interact with the question live with this particular session. So we could see that there were 7 people who answered this question correctly. Now that we are moving on to the next question, reading out question number 2 for everyone. An 18-year-old client is looking for therapy. It has been identified that social isolation due to lockdown is the cause for the client's distress. So, which of these is most likely to help this client? And the 4 options that you have is A. Biomedical therapy, B. Humanistic existential therapy, C. Psychodynamic therapy, and D. Behavior therapy. And just to highlight for this particular question as well, the section that this question belongs to is also subject expertise. Subject expertise because you need to know and have the knowledge of that particular concept and subject to answer this question. Reading out the question again before switching on to the Mentimeter. 18-year-old client is looking for therapy. It has been identified that social isolation due to lockdown is the cause for clients' distress. So, which of these is most likely to help this client? Option A, biomedical therapy. Option B, humanistic existential therapy. Option C, psychodynamic therapy. And option D, behavior therapy. Moving on to how people are responding for this particular question. We have 11 responses. Again, if you are looking for the code, it is mentioned on the top of your screen. You can go to menti.com and use the given code. Okay, so out of 14 people who have responded, 15, nobody thinks option A is correct. 8 people are responding for option B to be correct answer. 4 people for option C and 4 people for option D. Let us wait out for a few seconds for people to come onto the platform and respond. Okay. Again, we have a division across 3 options, 9, 4, and 4. Okay, great. Okay, we still see people responding, so another matter of few seconds and then we should be able to go ahead. Okay. Okay, so I think we can move forward in terms of discussing the answer. Okay, showing everybody the answer. It is B. Humanistic existential therapy is the correct answer. So over here, let us go back to our question with these details, we have correct answer as humanistic existential therapy, and all the other three, of course, are wrong. Now, discussing why option B is correct. So, if we understand the nuances of like the minute differences that different kinds of therapeutic practices have. So here we know that biomedical therapies involve prescription of medicines and certain licensed drugs by licensed professionals and practitioners. So the given scenario is about social isolation, and the reason is mentioned as a lockdown. So over here, prescribing medications right away obviously will not work. So that is why biomedical therapy is not a good choice for this particular client to select as a therapeutic practice to solve this problem. Humanistic existential therapy is the correct answer. Reason being that we know that humanistic existential therapies postulate that psychological distress arises from feelings of loneliness or alienation and an inability to find meaning and genuine fulfillment in life. Of course, this is one part of it, but majorly humanistic existential therapy focuses on addressing these sorts of issues where a client is isolated or is not able to feel mindful or grateful about the present time. That is why humanistic existential therapy would be perfect for this client. We could also see that psychodynamic therapy was the correct answer for some of the people. So why is it incorrect is because we know that this approach views intra-psychic conflicts to be the cause of psychological disorders, where we also go back to the clients, let's say maybe the childhood experiences or the past where those experiences might be affecting the client in the present time. But according to the given information, social isolation is the issue over here, which is why we cannot recommend this client to go for this therapeutic approach like psychodynamic therapy. That is why it is the incorrect option. Fourth option is behavior therapy, and according to the knowledge, behavior therapy postulates that psychological distress arises because of faulty behavioral patterns or thought patterns. So, over here, it is not about what the client is feeling in terms of what the pattern of thought is, but the given situation is about social isolation, which is also why behavior therapy might not work for this particular client, and of course not an ideal suggestion. So this is why humanistic existential therapy is the correct answer. Now, understanding another point, another tip that we got from this particular question is that while answering the question, it is not along with the language part that we saw in the first question. We also need to have like a very clear understanding of how the concept or how the minute details of interrelated things could also make a difference in terms of, like for example we saw in this question. So we do need to have a clarity in terms of understanding of what is the thin line of difference between the subconcepts of a particular section. So again, moving on to another question. Again, displaying the code over here. Go to menti.com and mention this code to participate in the quiz that we are doing over here. Okay, so reading out the question number 3 for you. Now again, you should note that this particular question is just to give you an idea of the section of subject-specific pedagogical content knowledge, where I share that is the second section of the kind of multiple choice questions we have. So this is the question to give you an insight in that section. Reading out the question. So a teacher wants to develop observational skills in students and expects them to carry out naturalistic observation. Which of these activities is best suited to do so? Option A, asking students to understand children's play activities at a nearby park. Option B, asking students to discover something new about their friend by interviewing them. Option C, asking students to list the day-to-day routines that are followed in their sociology classes. Option D, asking students to write a summary of a speech given by the principal during the morning assembly. So we can see over here people have started responding. You can also start doing that. Meanwhile, I'll go back to the question from this format and read it out one more time for all of you. A teacher wants to develop observational skills in students and expects them to carry out naturalistic observation. Which of these activities is best suited to do so? Option A, asking students to understand children's play activities at a nearby park. Option B, asking students to discover something new about their friend by interviewing them. Option C, asking students to list the day-to-day routines that are followed in their sociology classes. And option D, asking students to write a summary of a speech given by the principal during the morning assembly. So let's see how people are responding over here. Okay, we have a total of 12 responses. Again, you still can join this quiz right from this question. You need not answer the previous question because this is in synchronous with the live session. So log into mentimeter.com and enter the code that you can see on the top of your screen, 3220477. So I can see there are 15 people who have responded, and majority is going with option A, which have 6 responses. 3 people are going with option B, 2 people are going with option C, and 4 people are going with option D for now. Hoping that we quickly can have a little bit more number of responses. We have 16 responses for now, waiting for more and more people to answer so that we also know what the majority of the people who are interested in this particular track think about the question. And if you are also just watching the live session, I would request you to go to this quiz and perform, because unless you interact, you will not have like a complete idea in terms of what the thought process is while answering such kind of questions. Okay. Waiting for 10 to 15 more seconds, and then we're gonna move on to the discussing the answer for this one. Okay, I can see people are like still responding, taking a little bit of time, but you guys are still responding. Okay, so let's see what the correct answer for this one is. Okay, people are still responding. So anyway, let's see. So the correct answer is A, where we have 9 responses which are correct for this particular question. So let's go back to our question in terms of understanding why this is correct. So here, the first thing to note is that Uh, Now, from the subject expertise point of view, first thing that you might have noticed that your point of view has shifted from looking at the content to looking from a lens that what is the content and how to deliver it. So over here, it is about naturalistic observation, and along with the pedagogical knowledge, you also should understand that naturalistic observation is also called non-participant observation, based on which you also will be able to uh, identify why the rest of the options are incorrect. So over here, option A says that you ask students to understand children's play at a nearby park. So over here, if students do that, of course they are not going to be part of the activities of what is going on in the nearby park. They are going to sit in the corner or maybe just observe from a non-observant point of view, which is exactly what naturalistic observation is. So along with the subject knowledge, you are also identifying how will I deliver that particular subject knowledge using some of the maybe assignment or some of the class activities or something similar to what you are seeing in the options right now. Why our second option will be incorrect? Of course, when you are saying that to interview a friend, which means the skills that are being covered over here are conversation skills and social skills and talking to a friend, which is definitely not a non-participant observation. So it is not naturalistic observation, so definitely not a best suited activity to select. Option number C is asking students to list day-to-day routines that are followed in their sociology classes. Now, over here, for why this is incorrect is because it is still an observational method to understand. It is still an observational method, but over here, the both this goes for both option C and option B, that the student will be a participant of both of these activities. So it will not be a naturalistic observation, but it will be a participatory or participant observation, which definitely is not a best suited activity to make students understand naturalistic observations and certain rules around it. So what another tip that we gathered over here is like language, subject content knowledge, and also understanding that the given activity, if like what are the end results that is being taken care of by the particular activity for the students. So this is another tip, that this is also another point of view that you need to have as a teacher while answering these kind of questions. So let's quickly move on to question number 4 as well. Same code being on Mentimeter. I will switch this thing for you as well. And reading out question number 4. You are about to teach the different methods of inquiry to your students. Which of these questions would be most apt for a diagnostic assessment? Reading the question once again, you are about to teach the different methods of inquiry to your students. Which of these questions would be most apt for a diagnostic assessment? Option A, develop an inquiry plan for a given issue. Then option B, differentiate between experimental and observational studies. Option C, what are the steps to overcome limitations in quantitative research? And option D, what is the purpose of conducting research? Moving on to the Mentimeter, just reading out the question options for all of you over here. Develop an inquiry plan for a given issue. Option B is differentiate between experimental and observational studies. Option C, what are the steps to overcome limitations in quantitative research? And option D, what is the purpose of conducting research? So the purpose, what question says over here is to teach different methods of inquiry to your students, And which of these questions, which of the questions given in the options would be the most apt for a diagnostic assessment? Waiting for people to join in again, like I mentioned in the last question as well. You can directly jump to this question in terms of attending this quiz. I have 16 responses so far. Okay. I can see that there is not a lot of difference between the selection of option A and option B. 6 people are selecting option A and 8 people are selecting option B. All right. I guess we have like 20 responses so far. So let's move on to the answer for this particular question. Again, I guess a lot of you are answering in the comment box, because of which I cannot see how many people are going with what option. So that is the reason that I request everybody to, again, like it is almost like another question is still left. Log into Mentimeter and enter this code so that you can participate live in this format. So the correct answer for this particular question would be option D, where we are asking the students what is the purpose of conducting research. Now let us look at why this option is correct. So another tip in terms of the point of view that you have to follow for this question is one, that you are going to teach different methods of inquiry to your students. So that is one part, that of course along with the subject expertise part, you need to also understand what a diagnostic assessment is. So here we also understand that a diagnostic assessment is a kind of is conducted before or prior to teaching of a particular concept. That is why we need to select a particular question which makes us understand that even if students don't have the reading for that particular concept, what is the current level of understanding, which also might guide me as a teacher in terms of understanding on what lines do I need to make my lesson plan. So why this first option is incorrect is because this requires the knowledge of inquiry methods, and of course it cannot be considered as diagnostic assessment, because it will require students to read the topic and then give the answer. Option B is incorrect because experimental, and it is difference between two specific types of inquiry methods. Again, cannot be considered as diagnostic assessment because it requires students to understand the methods and then answer this. Then option C is also incorrect because again, same explanation, that all of these questions require students to understand types of inquiry or methods of inquiry and then answer these questions. So that is why option D is correct, because over here students can answer what is the purpose of conducting a research, and based on this we can understand if they understand the prerequisite for going on to different methods of inquiry or not. So this is another like point of view in terms of a question where the thought process that you might also face while answering questions like these. Again, the last question over here is, a teacher wants to know whether the students can, again, like you might feel that I'm rushing through, but in the interest of time, we just have 2 minutes to wind up the last question. The teacher wants to know whether the students can apply the concept of managing exam anxiety. Which of the following questions is most suitable to check this? Option A, what are the other situations where one can feel anxious similar to an exam? What will you do if you are anxious about an upcoming test for a job interview? How do you define exam anxiety? And what are the observable symptoms for someone facing exam anxiety? Taking you all to Mentimeter here. Now, the question says which of the following is most suitable to check the concept of understanding of managing exam anxiety for the students. So over here again, you can go to the same code, answer. Okay, I'll read out the question for all of you again. The teacher wants to know whether the students can apply the concept of managing exam anxiety. Which of the questions is most suitable to check this? Okay, not a lot of responses for this one, but just the code is same. You can check for this particular menti.com and answer this particular question. Okay. So reading out the options again, and then I will display the answer for this one. What are the other situations where one can feel anxious similar to an exam? Option B, what will you do if you are anxious about an upcoming test for a job interview? Option C, how do you define exam anxiety? And option D, what are the observable symptoms for someone facing exam anxiety? Now, while you are answering this question, I'll suggest one thing like what might you be thinking. So here, we want to know if students can apply. So this is one of the keyword over here that we don't want to know if they have understood the concept or not. We are not checking for their knowledge or understanding. We are checking if they can apply this particular concept or not. So for this, displaying over here the answer for all of you. Option B is correct. It says, what will you do if you are anxious about an upcoming test for a job interview? Because this is the only option which asks students that what will you do? And in terms of thinking, what will you do? Obviously, you will have to think in terms of application of whatever you have read and how will you apply that particular concept. Again, tip for this these kind of question is that you need to understand the Bloom taxonomy levels, that how the understanding of knowledge, understanding, application, analysis, and other levels, how it is different and what is the thin line of difference between that. So Bloom's taxonomy is another thing that all of you need to understand while answering such kind of questions. So I hope these questions have been helpful. So just stay back because there are a very few important details in terms of registration and everything that I need to share with you. Before that, sharing with you the kind of questions that are there for question 1 and 2 for video evaluation part. Reading out question type for 1, where it is subject specific verbal evaluation, where you need to choose any one of these topics and you have to answer in a way that you are addressing or as if you are teaching to your students. The kind of options that you will have out of 3 that you have to select any one would be difference between ADHD and ASD. Number 2 will be effects of alcohol abuse. Number 3 will be factors affecting selective attention. So these will be the kind of questions that you will have and you will have to select from the subject specific evaluation. And video 2 is subject agnostic, where it is like common for across different subjects, and no matter what subject you teach, if you are a teacher for any other subject or grade like I previously mentioned as well, you can also answer these questions. So these are the 2 types of lenses that we have while approaching these video assessments as well. So you can also see that these are the questions that we have for the video part. Moving on, very specific details in terms of how do you prepare. So first of all, if you log on to CENTA TPO resource page, it is a one-stop solution that I can tell you for any kind of need or any kind of help that you want while preparing for any kind of track, be it psychology or if you are interested in any other track. You can go to CENTA TPO resource page. The link is mentioned on your screen, and over there what you will have is sample questions across all of the subjects. You will have live webinars like maybe this one or related to your subject as well, or maybe related to pedagogical side of teaching or any other question that you might get an insight from those live webinars. There are recorded webinars and there are ample free resources that you can learn from. There are a lot of guides to prepare for CENTA International TPO, and of course, a corner called Curious Corner, where new resources in different other formats are updated every day. So this is why I said it's actually a one-stop solution and a one-stop shop for everything that you need to prepare for CENTA International TPO. The last thing, of course, is you must be thinking how do you register for it. So step one, go to this particular website, which is centa.org slash TPO 2022 slash. After you go over there, you will, if you scroll down to this particular page, you will see a register now button. And over there, if you click on it, you will have access to TPO registration form. Of course, after filling it and making the certain payment, you will definitely be able to, of course, this is the process for registration. And one specific detail that if you register within next 24 hours from now, you will have to use TPO FEB 20 for a 10% discount in the registration fee. So this is applicable only till next 24 hours for whatever you want to register for TPO. If you register within next 24 hours, you can use the given coupon code for a 10% discount. So thank you for attending this session, just having this on display, and I hope that this session was definitely useful and helpful for all of you. Whatever information you need, you definitely can get it on the CENTA website. So I would say that whatever confusion that you might have, just log on to CENTA website and go over there, CENTA TPO resources or any other registration information in terms of information about other tracks as well. Again, a one-stop solution, CENTA website, everything you will get over there. So thank you for attending the session and I hope this was insightful.